West War Room Rivals is sponsored by Emporia State Federal Credit Union. Learn more at esfcu.com. Text or call the number 620-342-2336 to get started today. ESFCU is the Shovix banking of choice, federally insured by the NCUA.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into the West War Room Rivals Show. We are very excited today. We have a great special guest. We will bring her here in a minute. But as always, we got to start off with the roll call. And we're going to start off with the Shovik brothers.
All right. I am Austin, co-host of Shovik Sports, representing the Chiefs.
And I am Corey, other co-host, Shovik Sports, representing Broncos.
Timmy.
I am Tim, host of Answer the Call, and I represent the Chargers.
And Cody.
This is Cody representing Raider Nation. Let's go.
So other than the cool glasses Cody has on, we do want to take a moment to recognize the Raiders will finish last probably. But as always, thank you to Spy for these cool glasses and making Cody look good. If you guys want a pair of your own, please use code ORANGE20 to get 20% off of your order. Thank you to Spy for that.
All right, let's get going.
Ball tipped and caught! Oh my gosh! The double deflection! Set up the screen instead. He'll float it over the middle. Jump ball and it's Powers down the sideline. The rookie from Georgia with the game's first score. And caught by another touchdown.
Gets me every time, boys.
Every time.
Gents, how are we doing today? You guys doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Doing pretty good. Had a really good episode with Chris yesterday and getting to know a lot of that Smash Up fantasy stuff. It was really fun to hear back on that.
Right. I am looking forward to using one of those power cards. I can't wait to try it out. But guys, we got a very special guest on the show today. We're all very big advocates for women in sports. They don't really get as much credit as they should. And I know I sound like a broken record to you guys, but one of the best leaders I ever had in the Navy was, in fact, a female. And today we have one who is a reporter. She is a Emporia State alumni, sports reporter, host for Sports Radio 810. Please help me in welcoming Bethany Bowman.
Welcome.
Bethany, welcome. We are so happy to have you here. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun. I wanted to ask you guys really quick. Sorry, I know you're going to have some questions here for me, but how did all of this get started and you guys find, a representative from each team and all that kind of thing?
Ironically, I think the Shoviks need to answer this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about a year ago, we decided to do a podcast. We didn't expect anything out of it. Just get on, talk sports. Became a real big fan of obviously the Pat McAfee show and then Jason and Travis's podcast, Two Brothers. So I was like, we're brothers. So technically. So let's start a podcast. And then it was doo-doo. We were so bad at it, but at the same time, it was fun. And then once we started getting more comfortable with being on camera and doing more, I had an idea of, I want more. I need, we can take a plan and make it go. So I came up, originally it was a roundtable, AFC West roundtable. That name was already taken. And then we went to a different name. And then we realized that name was also taken. So third time's a charm, West War Room Rivals. I started putting some feelers out. We've had each of these guys on our individual show. And so I knew Timmy was a Chargers fan. I knew Cody was a Raiders fan. And then obviously Matt's been kind of with us since day one. He was one of our first guests we had on our show. And I knew he was a Broncos fan.
Third Shovik brother, we call him.
So basically I pitched the idea to them. They said, yes, let's do it. It was originally going to be a quarterly show where we were going to do an episode, 2 episodes in the off season, couple in the preseason. And then we would do one every, quarter in the season. Then we did a couple episodes and actually took off really, really well. The feedback from people was great. And then brainstorming started happening. And then we were like, I don't think we're going to get by with just doing a quarterly show. So it turned into a one night a week. And then we started getting guests. Austin got Coach Dick Vermeil to join us almost 2 weeks ago now. And then we were like, okay, now it's starting to pick up a little more. We had Derek Blaylock, former Chiefs running back, on with us last week. Quentin Jammer's supposed to be with us next week. So, yeah, it kind of just took off. And we've kind of had to bail on our individual show because this is doing so well that we've had to start putting more of our attention on this and the focus on this. So not bad for a couple guys who wanted to just do a podcast for fun. And now here we are. I'm not saying that we're taking off to a level of like, this is like it's viral. It's not, we're not there yet, but we're well on our way just based on us having Coach Vermeil. Jesse Newell was on with us. So again, we're getting there. And then I was like, Austin, you went to school with Bethany. I know Bethany works at 810 because I listen to 810. I was like, she would be great. She would be.
You got a fan. You have a fan.
Again, I was like, let's work on that. So while we're trying to get the Las Vegas media, the Chargers, the Broncos, and all that, we still got to use the resources that we kind of know. So again, we thank you for joining us because I know it's not often, especially with training camp getting going for the Chiefs and things probably picking up for you. It's not easy just to take an hour out of your evening to join just random guys on a stream to talk sports. But again, that's where we're at. And again, we thank you for your time.
No problem. Absolutely. This is awesome. I'm excited to do it. So.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're excited to dive into it. And we're going to, start looking into how you got into your field and whatnot. And Tim is going to kick us off with the first question.
All right, Bethany. What got you interested in sports radio? And tell us how you were able to get into the industry.
Yeah, I can't say that I ever thought I would work at a radio station. Like what you guys do, this podcast and like talking for an hour. I actually have an hour show probably airing about now on Sports Radio 810, but that's like the hardest thing I do all week is an hour-long show, like that long-form content. So I was doing more like digital interviews, kind of short 2-minute things with prospects across the state of Kansas, mostly football because that's kind of what there's more like combines and things for. But of course, volleyball and basketball too, and spreading it out to lots of different sports with my previous job. And so 810 actually saw some of that and approached me and asked if I'd be interested in joining the team. Of course, them covering the Chiefs, the Royals, doing awesome things like going out to Lake Tahoe. I just got back from there last week. That was all a huge draw for me. I still cover high school sports and I love high school sports. That's always going to be the start of it for me. But yeah, that was really kind of how I got here at 810. Like I said, when my first week, they said, hey, your show's going to be 6 to 7 on Wednesday night. I'm like, what? Like, I can't do that. Like these guys that do the morning, the midday, and the late afternoon show for 4 hours. I'm still amazed 2 years in that they're able to do that every single day. So yeah, the radio part is a work in progress for me. It's getting better, but really kind of that digital content is what got me here and how I'm at 810. So.
No, that's incredible. Yeah. Do you have any mentors who've helped you along the way or someone now who is helping you continue to work on your craft?
Definitely. I have to give a huge shout out to Emporia State Sports Information Director, Don Wiest. You guys, some of them probably know him as well, but he did so much for me at Emporia State because, D2 school, I was a communications major, but it really wasn't a whole lot of broadcasting or like, media or kind of mass communications. It was more like interpersonal, you and me talking, things like that. I was a health promotion major until my junior year at Emporia State because my junior college credits had transferred well to that. And then I realized that even though I was track and field and those types of things, I did like to work out, but I wasn't going to do it for a career. I'm not passionate about working out and eating great. I actually have some very high calorie French dip sliders in the oven right now. So
that sounds awesome.
That sounds awesome.
Amazing.
I like to eat well and, just wasn't really there with the whole health promotion thing. But I went to Don Wiest, said, what can I do? Can I help out with the athletic department. Obviously, I don't need any pay or anything. And as much as maybe he says I did for them unpaid, like I said, and things like that, he did a lot more for me because he was spending his extra hours, which he doesn't have a lot of, filming on like an iPhone 6 at the time, but, doing the backwards walk, kind of like the Jay Billis 94 feet stuff. And I was terrible. I mean, I've got some interns now who I tell, you have got to do a million of these to even start to feel comfortable, like on camera. But Dawn was there at the beginning to help me through that and to witness the cringe, awful, just awkward interviews that I did at the very beginning. You can still find a few of those on YouTube, but please don't go search them. Down really badly, but he won't. So he's a huge one. I'd say now I get mentored all the time by all the people that I work with. I've got great ones, obviously, at the station. Todd Lebo, Stephen St. John, Jason Anderson. And then, Laura Oakman, she's an NFL reporter, and she's got a whole group called Galvanize and a whole platform to help women and to do everything she can to spread her knowledge and wealth to us. So those are some that come to mind. I'm sure there's some I'm missing. There's always people along the journey that you have to thank, but those for sure, I'd say, stick out for me.
It's pretty awesome. So your weekly show, you said you got to prepare for it, and it comes out like Wednesdays, is from what you said. What do you do to stay prepared for like your live segments and, to stay kind of fresh for the listeners whenever you're delivering your show?
Yeah, it's kind of hard, I feel like, to prepare sometimes, because if I recorded a show yesterday, it might be not necessarily not relevant, but things change. They're always changing. Yep. Like today. So I try and record the show day of, if, like it's airing now, but I pre-recorded a few hours ago at the station. Mm-hmm. I think for staying fresh, like always, luckily we live in the age of Google, because I can't imagine without the internet, like finding information, but always Google searching. There's always like a new commit, somebody's going on the injured list, whatever. There's news every day. It might be a slow news day in sports in some people's eyes on certain days, but there's always something. So trying to, I guess, just stay on top of that. And then, of course, just I think, like, for me, I'm like, sometimes, where do I start? What am I going to talk about? What's the topic today? And I think it's gotten easier as I've realized, like, let me just go and see what a few of the guys said at training camp today. There wasn't any huge news, like I said, maybe more of a slow news day, but like Chris Jones today at training camp talked about the O-line. It's a huge battle right now, and there's 6 or 7 guys that look like maybe they could be on that O-line. And Isaiah Pacheco told us that he feels mentally and physically very prepared and well going into the season. So little things like that. It is amazing. I know I said it's hard to do like a long form show. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get to talk and time flies fast. Like I'm sure you guys know that well. So it's getting easier, but really just like this is a conversation. If I'm like writing questions and things, I almost feel like it's not as good as if I just kind of, hey, yeah, you said that. Let me follow up on that. Let's keep talking. Let's go down that path. So that's kind of been it for me. That's cool. I've got a 2-parter to kind of follow up with that. So does your segments normally, when you're putting them together, take a long time? And then the second half to that is, was there one where you put a lot of time in, like you spent way more time on it than you normally would, and then breaking news came and you had to scrap that real quick to basically go on the fly with something new? Yeah, absolutely. I think, I can't remember who it was, but there was a Royals player one day we talked a lot about. And then actually, I think it was MJ Melendez actually last year, not last year, earlier this season, that got demoted. And then ironically today, he got
Yep.
for him. But yeah, that's happening all the time. As far as, does it take a long time for a segment? I think the more I try to put in it sometimes, like we talk all the time, not just for radio, but for like social media, you spend a ton of time like on a produced video and like you won't see the results that you want, or you can post like a raw footage of something like a 10-second clip and like people go crazy on it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you never really predict. So sometimes I think it's more about getting it out fast and and kind of being that person that has it first. I don't always like to be like the breaking news person. I think it's more important to be right and correct with your information. But there is a time and place where it's like, ooh, people want to hear it and see it now. So let's like be timely on it.
Yeah.
So you kind of got started, and I know you said you're still doing high school athletics, but you started, I think it was sports in Kansas. Am I right? Or is it? Yeah. So, because I remember when I was doing the coaching stuff when we were still living in Kansas, I think Kansas does a better job than a lot of places being able to cover the high school kids, especially those kids that are out in, the smaller communities out in Western Kansas, Central Kansas, where they're not getting much attention. And we talked to Tim Miller from KBOE a couple weeks ago on our show, and he was talking about that's what Emporia did really well, was they were able to give the coaches in Emporia and local kind of a platform, get them out there. So walk us through the biggest difference in covering the high school side of that with sports in Kansas to now you're on 810. It's a well-known Kansas City sports station. So kind of walk us through those differences there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're very right. Tim Miller and Dylan Sherwood. I mean, Emporia is so lucky to have passionate people like that did so well covering Emporia High and Emporia State athletics. I actually just talked with on my show tonight, Dan Courtwright, if you remember him. Did some radio in Emporia. So yeah, they've got a ton of great people there that do that, and that was huge for me in my start. Was I always wanted to make sure that I was kind of giving the love to people that maybe didn't get it all the time. So those Western Kansas schools, like as much as the drive wasn't always fun, you can ask my boss back a few years ago, it would get near the end of the season. And I'm like, man, I've got 5 teams here that I really want to get to. And, it's like Tuesday. So I've got 4 days left in the week. Like, how am I going to pull this off? But, I didn't have to. Our arrangement, I guess you could say, was that, I would do X amount of visits a week or Zoom calls a week. But there were often times I did extra just because, like, I loved covering those kids and thought they deserved it. And, I still obviously – I feel like carry that with me now. Like, I want to always make sure to make time and prioritize high school athletics, even around Kansas City when there's so much more going on. But it's pretty cool to have the Chiefs and the Royals now. Like, I'm going in these clubhouses, and I guess the biggest difference, you don't have all the access that you would have with the high school kids. I mean, you just walk right onto the field. They're like, hey, what's up? You're like, hey, love the catch you had last week. That was cool, and here you can't exactly do that to Travis Kelce. You do get some actually, I was walking out of the press conference room one day, and Travis was going at the same time. So he's like, hey, how are you? How's life? And I mean, there's not a lot of guys in that locker room that aren't really, really cool. Same goes for the Royals, but obviously it is a little bit different. They're just bigger, and you're like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. Like, I just got to be a little more careful. But at the end of the day, they're all really cool. They're all people, and I love it. So
that's good.
Have you ever come across Taylor Swift yet in passing at all?
So sorry guys, I got a little dark in here with the sun, but I can turn on the light. So Taylor would go to the games, and you guys probably saw all the time, like the viral videos. I got one of those viral videos where she is getting off the cart, and her security guy yells, stand back, and she's like, stand back, please. And she like,
oh yeah.
To say, be polite. And that was my video. Entertainment Tonight stole it. We haven't heard back on the stolen content property thing yet, but I actually took that, and I haven't came face to face with her like, hey Taylor, or anything like that. I think it's just a matter of time, I'm hoping, before I'm at something that maybe both of them are at.
Yeah.
I heard that she was trying to get to Lake Tahoe, and then they just didn't quite have the security at the first wall entrances and exit points. They just couldn't like promise that, so she didn't come out to that. But I'm hoping one of these days for sure. Yeah,
that'd be sick.
Yeah, definitely.
I think she's turning the light on.
Yeah, she's getting.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
Perfect.
So you said you've kind of bumped into Travis Kelce, and you guys had a little conversation. But is there any other Chiefs player that you remember like just kind of bumping in and having a good conversation with?
Nick Bolton comes to mind with that. He is really, really, really nice. Just a good guy. Obviously, huge impact on the field, but even better just to say hi. He's always smiling. Chris Jones as well. I'll put him in there too. Never see him, not saying hi and thank you to personnel and to us media. He actually complimented my boots one day. He was like, "Oh my gosh, like look at those boots."
That's probably like the friendliest locker room there is.
Yeah, I'm like, thanks, Chris. I actually haven't been like in the locker room yet with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
Uncle Rico.
Raiders legend.
So excited to have him just in the roster, in the locker room and on the roster, because how does a guy like that not like elevate the culture and the fun level? There's no way he's not. So. Let's see. Another Leah Chanel was another one that I thought was just, you walk away from some interviews and you're like, gosh, they're just so nice. And so those guys, like those three, probably come to mind for me.
We had Jesse Knoll on last week, and he said that Sky Moore was one of his players that is super respectful, and he's like rooting for, but he knows he has to be honest about it. But he said Sky Moore was up there for him.
Yeah, Sky Moore's great. I'm trying to think, not that I'd like out them, but I truly can't even think of anybody that like I've had like they weren't very nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Big Red would tolerate that.
Yeah, that's the good thing about Andy Reid is you got a good locker room in there.
Yeah. So next one is, we talked about you kind of had the passion and like the high school, college stuff. Always kind of will always have a place in your heart. So is there like a high school or college moment that you think deserves more attention that you've either covered recently, even farther back in your past, but one that deserves more attention than it either has gotten or anything like that?
I know you guys sent me some talking points. I think I meant to, in my mind, come up with one of those. There's so many is the thing. That's the hard part. It's not that I can't think of any, but I just can't think of one specific. But let's see. I know there's got to be a couple.
Just go back to the high school days and think of like one of the Emporia High games, right? Like.
Okay. Yeah.
What's football like in Kansas? Is it as big as it is like in Texas or anything? Because I'm in California right now. I'm in the Central Valley, and so football's relatively big. But like you hear about some of these mega states like Texas that it's like religion. What's like Friday Night Lights for you guys in Kansas? At least at Emporia, what was that like for you guys growing up?
Yeah, I wish I could say that high school was a little bigger than it probably is in Kansas. There's some phenomenal athletes for sure in the state of Kansas. Jaron Kanik comes to mind. He's at OU right now. He was one that I covered most recently the last couple of years. Let's see. I mean, there's a ton of guys, like a lot of KU and K-State. Like I know that it's not like the Alabama and there has been a couple that have gone on to, big SEC schools, but I think sometimes you hear, oh, they're going to K-State or they're going to KU, and it's like, okay, I mean, that's great. But, K-State is a team I feel like is like right there on potentially like having a breakout season, college football playoff team, things like that. KU 2 seasons ago, same thing, obviously a little bit of a slip up last year, but there are some really good local athletes in the state of Kansas. I'm, of course, going to put Texas ahead of us in terms of just hype and stadiums. I mean, you drive down there, like, is that a college? Oh no, that's
high school, yeah,
or whatever. But yeah, it's underrated, I think, is how I'd put Kansas high school football. And then as far as moments, I'm still trying to think.
But you can even go back to when we were in high school, right? Like former Chiefs tight end Blake Bell just absolutely obliterated our high school. Like. Yep.
So
like, it was cool and everything, but yeah, he was on a different level. So yeah, you're not wrong. There have been athletes from Kansas. I mean, Christian Brown, the big, KU guy with the Nuggets now, small town Kansas kids. So there have been some phenomenal athletes in Kansas, but as far as high school football goes, Bethany was spot on. We can't compete with Texas, and I don't think many places can.
Well, that's what I said. It's like it's a religion. No one's going to duplicate it for a reason. It is literally, that's half the thing that they talk about is how big Texas is and their football. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Blake Bell. He's actually like a semi-neighbor of mine. We live in the same area. I am in an apartment. I am not near probably the house that Blake Bell has. But I ran into him the other day and actually introduced him to my boyfriend that same way. I said, hey, this is Blake, and he killed my high school.
When I reached out to him to see if he wanted to be on, I'm like, can you at least let me down soft since you obliterated us in high school? And I was like that's what I remember, right? But I can't remember. Was Bubba Starling? Was he around our time too?
That's another good one. Gosh,
yeah.
You were coming up with all the names that I should have here. Bubba Starling. Yes, he was a year, I believe, older than me, and I graduated in 2013, and then obviously had a chance to play football in Nebraska. And went on with the Royals because who wouldn't for $7 million? And I'm really sorry, Bubba, but you fleeced the Royals.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I was kind of hoping you would throw it back to our boy from high school with Jarrell, right? Like our high school went to Oklahoma State.
That's enough. Okay, I guess I didn't really know the question. Like,
that's fair. You can be. I'm biased all the time. Okay,
what can I really pick? But yeah, Jarrell. Dion Morrow now he's
yep, that's right.
So many great things in the community of Emporia. He's doing legislative things, and I feel like every time I talk to that kid, I'm like, what are you up to? And he is dipping his toes in every single thing, and I'm like, stick with one thing, buddy. But no, he's doing everything. But truly, probably the best like pure athletic person I've ever seen in my life. Was from our high school. So that's
football, track, like
I mean the guy long jumped 25-8.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then went on to play at Oklahoma State defensive back, and we were talking about K-State earlier. I think K-State would have given him a little more love. I'm sure he does not regret his decision one bit, but I don't feel like he got the fair shake in college that he probably should have.
That's true.
I agree.
So let's transition over to the Kansas City sports scene, since obviously that's now where you're at. So we had talked to Jesse last week about maybe things that he sees behind the scenes that people don't realize. So I want to ask you something similar. So like in covering Kansas City sports, what is something that you see behind the scenes that maybe other fans don't?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with, a lot of people are talking about the Chiefs dynasty and like how they're doing this and how they're, getting to the Super Bowl every year. And it's everything from a mastermind in Brett Beach to, a Hall of Fame coach in Andy Reid, to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, like guys like that you just don't come across really ever. I mean, to have like two guys like that on the same team, and then like Trent McDuffie, who like needs a contract right now. Like he is really, really, really good. I mean, you've got like this group of players, Chris Jones, like that you just don't see on one roster all at once. But really, I think a lot of it comes from like Andy Reid said first day of training camp, this is the hardest thing that they'll do all year is this training camp. Like we're not going to make it easy for them. And that's by design. Like that's so strategic to, set the tone early. This is how we practice. This is what we're going to go through. And then, there's going to be challenges along the way in the season. But I think that this organization and this team works harder than just about anyone else. I'm sorry to all you other guys representing other teams, but truly, I don't think that there's much more they could do from a preparation standpoint. And that is just huge for them when it comes to later in the season.
And that's usually,
and it really shows.
Yeah, I was going to say, and that's why the Chiefs always seem to be a little farther along and ready when the season starts than a lot of teams. Mm-hmm. Some people are always like, well, why are the Chiefs they just seem a little smoother out of the gate. I think it's to what you just said. They set the tone early and they work harder than they do all season. And now it makes sense. So I have the next question. I'm going to wait for the second part because because I don't want to drop any names yet, but we're even going to throw Royals in here too, just because, Kansas City area. But is there a Royals or Chiefs player that you've been drawn to while covering that isn't like Mahomes or Kels or like, one of the stars?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I can pick Royals, I'll probably go there because I mentioned a couple Chiefs guys that I've been really impressed with. But Lucas Ursig, bullpen guy for the Royals. Same thing. Like I told you guys, like sometimes you just walk away and you're like, oh my gosh, like he didn't have to be so nice, but he was. He stopped in the middle of his interview and like said bless you when I sneezed. It was like, I hate sneezing like in a public setting. So I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm like, hopefully nobody draws attention to it. Well, of course, it was Lucas who's talking at the time, and he's like, hey, bless you. I'm like, dang it. But it was so nice. And then, I was getting on the elevator one day. We actually used the same elevator as the players, like exiting after the game. And I was like standing back because he was with his either girlfriend or wife. I'm not sure. I think wife. And I'm like, they haven't seen each other all day. I'm going to let them get on the elevator and, have their moment, and he's like, hey, come on. And she's like, yeah. And they're like, no, get on the elevator with us. So I don't think that you would get that from quite everybody and everybody's wife. There's some really great wives here in Kansas City of some of these athletes, but I think in every city or every organization, there's probably a couple that kind of status gets to their head just a little bit, I think. Lucas and his wife, I can't say that about. They were great, and Bobby Wood Jr. is always great. But what I always tell people is, does he really have a choice? I mean, Bobby Wood Jr. could not, say or do anything without it obviously getting blown way out of proportion. So like he's always on his very best behavior, but I'm sure it's genuine. Not that it's not. But Lucas Ursig was really, for me, that guy.
Yeah, Bobby and his now wife Maggie, they do always seem wonderful, so that makes sense. My second part is more just for a personal part. My favorite player, I just want to know if you've had any interactions with him. Unless they're bad, then you can kind of just nonchalant answer it. But my boy George Karlaftis, any run-ins with him? Any hopefully good things to say? Because that's my favorite Chiefs player.
Yeah, George is great. Obviously, he just signed an extension, so it's all giddy and happy right now talking about that. But he's always been really nice. I don't know that. I think he could loosen up a little bit, maybe have a little more fun. Like I'd like to see him learn from Chris a little bit, because Chris is like the most hilarious guy at the podium ever. I don't know if you guys when Trey Smith was holding out a little bit earlier this year. Finally signed the deal, and then they asked Chris, and he's like, I don't know why you guys are asking me. You shouldn't take advice from me. Like, you saw what I did last year. But Chris is like always like that with the media. He's like, I'm gonna wear it. Like, I know what I did was crazy. I was sitting in the suite, game one, but we can all laugh about it now. I want to see George maybe crack a few more jokes, but his play on the field is unmatched. I think he'll have an even bigger year this year, and with Chris like starting week one and all that out of the way, like who would want to go against those two guys?
Not the Chargers.
If you're on the opposing team. So.
Not the Chargers down in wherever it's at.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Bethany, quick question. I know we're talking a little bit about both the Royals and the Chiefs, but is there a team or just a KC sport in general that you would prefer kind of like cover more than the other? For me, like, for instance, I do like baseball. I'm a Red Sox fan, but if the Broncos are on and the Sox are on, I'm going Broncos all day. So is there like one you favor more than the other?
Just very different, like two very different paced sports. I will say, like, the Royals this year when they were on that losing skid, I did not want to go in that clubhouse. There is nothing worse than because the Chiefs play once a week. So, you're not going to have a 9-game losing streak or something like that. Like, I mean,
yeah, we can only hope.
We can only hope.
Yeah, well, more than likely, I guess I should say. But, the Royals, they won a game at home. People were joking that the Savannah Bananas had won more at home than the Royals had because they were in town for
That's rough. That's a rough one.
I was, like, texting my friends, and I'm like, you guys don't understand. Like, I don't want to do this right now. Like, I don't want to go pick a mic in a grown man's face that hasn't won a game in his home stadium this month. Like, it's just not fun. But when they win, it's really fun in there. Like, same with Chiefs. I mean, they're playing music. They're all happy. They're joking around. But if I had to pick, I'd probably go with the Chiefs just because Arrowhead, this dynasty that we're on. Like, I'm in Kansas City at the perfect time. Like, we might never see this again. I hope we will, but it's just hard. So, we'll go football.
Well, hopefully you spoke a 9-game losing streak into existence. So all going to hope
that's
for
what
that.
I heard. Yeah,
that's what I heard.
That's what I'm hoping.
No, if that happens, we're going to have a talk.
Which leads me to my next question. How do you see the Chiefs window shaping up?
Well, the crazy thing was about last year is when the Chiefs were like 12-5 or something, or, like, people were freaking out. And it's like, this is so weird. Like, do you guys not understand how hard it is to win a football game in the NFL? Like, Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo and all the coordinators, like, they talk about that every week. And it's like, do fans not understand that? Does some of this media even not understand that? Like, every single week is such a grind. It doesn't matter if you're playing like the worst team in the division, like, you could lose. So there will be some losses this year. I don't think the Chiefs are going to run through anybody, or, I think they'll win the division. I don't think until they lose, I don't want to hear this talk on all these, big sports podcasts about.
I'm just kidding.
Like, it feels like this isn't the year anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you feel like it's in the air or something? I'm like, do you understand what their roster is right now? Like, I mean, Rashee Rice is going to face a suspension. We know that. But, I mean, all these other guys that we've got, like, we've got all these guys back. Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy's back. Jalen Royals, like the 5th or 6th round draft pick this year.
Yeah.
Optic State, he was taking reps with the ones today. I mean, he's fast. I'm not saying he's going to come in and, have a 700-800 yard season, but, like,
he might.
If you down, this Chiefs team is stacked, and you've got 1-5. When are people going to realize with Patrick Mahomes, there's not a whole lot of room for error if you're the other team?
I kind of like our guest right now.
Yeah, I don't know, a little bias over here. That's what I'm feeling. But no, I think one of our first episodes we did, fellas, I think it was the schedule release where we predicted the schedule for everybody. I think unanimously we still all said the Chiefs, just because until otherwise.
I didn't.
The Chiefs fan didn't pick the Chiefs to win the division.
I never do.
He actually picked the Broncos.
You should start. Maybe then they won't, because if every year you don't pick them.
If they win the division, I still win. If they lose the division, I was right, and I still win.
You're the worst person to bet with.
I am.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Yeah, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
A lot of hype around the Broncos, and I think, rightfully so. I'm excited to see how the Broncos year goes.
See, that's who I picked. I think Bo Nix and Sean Payton is not quite Andy and Patty, but, like, I think they're well on their way to being, like, the Temu version. Like, it's still in the ballpark, but not quite there.
I love how Tim's Chargers were just swept away. Like, yeah.
Nobody believes the Chargers charger. And like Bethany said with the Chiefs, until they don't win, it's them. Until the Chargers don't charger, everyone's going to expect the Chargers to charger.
They've got a lot more ways to go than, say, like the Broncos. There's just so many holes right now, I think, in that team, but feel free to, correct me if you feel differently. But
well, I have a follow-up now. Do you, because I just want Tim to be upset when he hears this answer. So do you think the Chargers make the wild card or a playoff berth, or do you think that they're on the outside?
I think they can make a playoff berth. Definitely. I mean, yeah.
Thanks, Bethany.
Would you predict that they do get in there, or I mean, I know we're saying that they have the chance to do it, but do you think they will?
I'll say they will.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That was a bit of a hesitation, I will say, but I appreciate you for being honest.
Well, I think it was more like the fact that she was trying to understand a Raider guy, So
I have not said anything salacious at all. I've been very cordial.
But you're still a Raider guy.
You're a Raider guy, so
I'm not falling asleep on the screen around here, guys. Relax.
Look, his shoulder pads fit, okay?
Yeah. Timmy, you're up.
Do I have to
Okay.
say nice about everybody's team? Because, you know,
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
We're not that kind of
Except-
show.
Except the
We're
Raiders.
not that
Except
kind
the
of
Raiders.
show.
Except the all right, guys. Just
Don't
remember,
let him get salacious again.
I have a lot of power behind this keyboard. Okay, I will be
We
a
all
keyboard
have
warrior.
power.
You just watch out.
Hey,
I do have
we
a
all got the power.
I do have a question, though.
What's up?
What's
Go
up?
ahead.
Raiders. So, Cody,
Yes.
do you understand or do you think that the Raider Nation is like a little too far gone, like in their behavior sometimes?
Okay, hang on, Cody. Hang on. Let me start by saying this real quick because Cody's more realistic. We'll call him realistic. Like
Yes.
Good.
I
He
taper
has-
my expectations.
he
Yes.
does, and he has mentioned that a few times on previous episodes. And so, Cody, I will say that yes, you have in past episodes, so you can go ahead and answer.
Well, and I want just so everyone's not raining on Cody. Bethany, I actually picked the Chargers to finish last and the Raiders to get third
Okay.
and to make a wild card berth. So as much as we rain on Cody, he's probably more realistic with the Raiders than I am. So
And he does not have the rate. It's our year startup kit. So he's good.
Yes.
Not
now,
even
now you go, Cody.
football wise though, but like just like you know,
I
they're
think-
a little crazy. They're a little
He
crazy.
knows his fan
So-
base is crazy.
Yeah. So actually, funny enough, so some of my apprehension sometimes about Raider Nation is there is a percentage of them, a small one, where they are to the extreme that I just don't connect with. And that's because, and again, every fan base is fun to be around and gets excited for their team. I'm just not someone that's not going to be realistic about our situation. Like when we signed John Gruden the second time, I wasn't a big fan of it just because I didn't feel like John Gruden was up to today's football standards. It was playing out kind of how I thought. We weren't really exceeding expectations. The one good year we had, it trailed off for obvious reasons. Have I been excited for certain off seasons and kind of fallen for the ruse of like, oh, we could be good this year? And I'm not even saying we're going to win it all. I'm just saying good. Like we're going to be in football games. We'll win some more than we'll lose some. And I had that same attitude with Josh McDaniels, had my heart broken. And then with Antonio Pierce, I was like, oh yeah, this guy feels different. No, it's actually the exact same thing. And we, in fact, we're worse. And that was even more frustrating. So as much excitement as I'm seeing from Raider Nation with Ashton Genty, with getting Geno Smith, having Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, all that things, I'm trying to be, for more entertainment, like very much of like excited for the Raiders, but also, and I think everyone on the panel would agree, there's a little apprehension with like your assumption of how your team's going to be.
You got my dog going.
Yeah, Jack and Cody got a little crazy.
Yeah, Kobe and Shaq are hearing something.
Yeah, but my point being is at some point, like, there is excitement. Oh, how cute. There is excitement, but there's also that like, okay, worry of like, am I really blowing smoke up my bum for no reason? And am I going to be heartbroken? Like that is the true reality that I'm sitting in, not just like, oh yeah, we're going to run through the league 17-0. I know for a fact that's not even in the realm of possibility. It's more or less of like, can we get above 500? Do we have a shot? Like, that's how I feel.
Now, Cody, I will say real quick, Pete Carroll is another level of a coach than Josh McDaniels. We all know that was a disaster waiting to happen. And then they hired Antonio Pierce, which that was his first head coaching job. Maybe he should just stick to being a defensive coordinator. So Pete Carroll is a higher level of a coach. So I do, I think like we have like the ceiling at like 9-8 overall. I mean, minus maybe Austin, who might have him a little higher, but I know that you are kind of like remaining like, like I don't want to get too excited, but I mean, you do have a legendary coach in Pete Carroll, and I think he will elevate. I'm not saying that they're going to win 10 games, but he did go on record and say today, he has won 10 plus games for 20 years now. So
sure.
I mean,
my only apprehension with all of what you said, because I want to buy into it just as much as like you're selling me on it. My only concern is we also did hire the oldest head coach in the NFL. So it's not like he's got 10 years to just be on the sidelines. God willing, I hope he has that much time with us in general. But we're also a team that hasn't had the same head coach for more than 2.5 seasons since the early 2000s. Like John Gruden was the last head coach we had that stayed more than 3 seasons, and that was like 98 to 2001, I think. And that was the last long-term tenured head coach that we've had. So I get it. Pete Carroll has a great name behind him. I'm enthused about it, but it's also my Raiders. Like 25 years of kind of like frustration is what I know. So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
At least, us Chiefs and Broncos fans on the panel, we have it pretty good, don't we?
Well, we didn't. We didn't a little bit. Like let's.
Up until last year, the one thing that the Raiders can count on is sweeping the Broncos. But now that broke because we got swept by them last season. So now we got to start all over. But that was our only thing that we were able to do like 4 seasons, I think. So there's
Speaking
that.
of how bad the Raiders are, Bethany, do you ever get like interactions? I don't know what the Raiders being bad had to do with this. Do you ever get interactions with like opposing players and stuff?
Yeah, we do.
Games, or because I think Max Crosby would be about the one Raider I think would be a blast.
Yeah, I've never talked to Max. A lot of times we'll send one person into like the opposing team's locker room and one into the Chiefs locker room. And my dogs, why do they do that weird throwing up thing? Come on.
Yeah, same.
I have a little Boston Terrier that does that.
Oh my gosh. I just got this dog a week ago. I rescued him. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
He's learning all the sounds and all that. But so yeah, we'll send someone into the opposing team's locker room. Like Buffalo Bills game, we were like, yeah, we definitely got to be there when Josh Allen's all sad and all that kind of thing. So and we get them like when they're walking into the stadium, like we get there really, really early to get all those videos. And I always tell people, I was at my cousin's engagement party last Saturday, and it was right before training camp started. On Sunday was report day. I saw Felix Anudike. Hey, stop. And he was there at the part. He had played with my cousin at K-State. And so I told him, I said, hey, sorry, tomorrow you're going to see me, being that weird person with their phone, like just getting you guys walking in. But it's all about the content. Like that's what people want to see, So I feel like a weirdo when we're doing that. But luckily, I would say most of the players really embrace it, and they know what it is. So, but yeah, we get interaction with the other team's players.
Good. We have one more in this segment, and then we'll go to the next one.
Okay.
What does it mean for you to be a woman in sports covering a high-profile team such as the Chiefs?
I just feel really, really honored because there's a lot of people that want to do these jobs, and not unlimited spots. So, I talked earlier about just like my passion for high school athletics. I'd say the one thing that if I had to tell people what I'm really, really proud of in just my 10-ish years of getting here is that I think I worked for this really, really hard and did everything I could to prove that I belong in this space and, can be in that radio station with guys like Stephen St. John and Todd and Seren and people that are, way more knowledgeable about like the Chiefs than me. And I always ask Todd, I'm like, how do you have like all this long-term knowledge? Like, I want to get there. And he's like, well, a lot of it is, you're 30 years old. Like I'm in my 50s. Like I'm going to remember and know things that you just wouldn't. And that frustrates me at times. Like you can try and go back in time and research and things, but a lot of things just if you're there, it's going to stick in your mind. So like, I'm always striving every day. I feel like to get to that point with guys like that. But at the end of the day, yeah, there's a ton of great women in sports, but I wish there was more spots. And so, yeah, I'm just really, really lucky, I think, to go to a job that I love and get to hang out with cool people who happen to just mostly be guys, but it's all good. They're fun and hilarious most of the time. So yeah, it's just really, really great job.
Do you feel like you have to work kind of twice as hard because there's kind of a smaller number of females that are covering sports like what you're doing?
I mean, yeah, I think people always talk about, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I've never really liked that phrase. I believe in it. Like, I think connections are a huge part of landing a job, especially in this industry. But at the end of the day, like, I want to, if I get an opportunity, like prove to people like, oh, wow, she actually does know what she's talking about. Like she didn't just come onto this job by chance. kind of felt that way out in Tahoe a little bit this past week. And that was hectic because you didn't know who you were going to get. And like we unfortunately didn't get a guy like Josh Allen or Sam Darnold. Like their PR guys were kind of just hanging around and they're like, they're not doing anything today. But I got a lot of great interviews that I didn't expect. Like Gary Sheffield was one. Did some work.
Oh, wow.
Both former MLB players. And I talked to Ryan Fitzpatrick and Matt Ryan. And those guys are kind of washed, obviously. Like they're not the Josh Allens of the world, but I really enjoyed talking to them. And, I hope when people listen to those, they're like, oh, wow, that was a great question that I didn't ever – sorry, guys.
You're fine.
Ever think to ask a guy like that. And so I try and just keep the questions sports related, but also something that like they're going to enjoy talking about too. And something hopefully they haven't been asked, because I think it'd be so annoying as an athlete to always get asked like those cliche questions.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh my gosh, Luca.
You're okay.
So you just mentioned Ryan Fitzpatrick, and in honor of Austin here, because he has a legendary beard. What is it like seeing Ryan Fitzpatrick's beard just up close?
Dang, that was my follow-up. I was going to ask what it was like in person.
Look at the Westy Besties.
The Magic
Westy
Man,
Besties.
and he has a phenomenal beard. We were actually talking about that. And he is in his retirement right now. He said he's really taken on braiding his daughter's hair. And I'm like,
cool.
You could braid your beard. Like it's really nice. But we actually ran into him before we ever got to the range. We saw him like our first night in town at the casino, and his son was his caddy all week, and he wore his caddy suit everywhere he went. So in the casino, and so it said hype man on the back. And I jokingly told one of my coworkers that was with us, he was kind of running operations for us all week. I said, go get a picture with that guy in the caddy suit. That'd be funny, like hype man. And we walked up and we asked Ryan Fitzpatrick's son to take a picture with us. And then we turn around and we're like, oh, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like nobody asked him to take a picture. Nobody recognized him. And so that was and then on the driving range the next day, he remembered us and talked with us. So yeah, it was funny.
That's super cool.
So let's transition to 810 real quick. That's again, I listen to 810 often up until about football season. Sorry. I absolutely love Steven St. John. He's one of my favorite people to listen to. Just his passion, one, his love for Kansas City is another thing that really stands out to me. And I've listened to a lot of people, right, in Kansas City, other stations and all that. Nothing seems to, that's what sticks out the most from him. And Todd Lebo. I know that those guys do a little bit of work together and collabs. What is it like working with Steven?
Steven and Todd, ironically, you're probably thinking that no matter who you said, I was going to compliment them and say good things about them, which I would because everybody's great. But Todd and Steven are like two of the best. Steven, I mean, you hit it on the head there. He has this passion for his job and a love for Kansas City like no other. So he's like the perfect guy to do all the things he does, the emceeing and the remote appearances and all those things. People love him and they should, because he is a great sports radio host, but what really takes him to that next level is just like loving the city that he works in and the people that he gets to interact with and all that kind of thing. And then Todd Lebo, truly like the glue of Sports Radio 810. He does everything. And, back like 20 years ago, he was doing more of like probably going out into the field and breaking news and all that stuff. And he still does that. But like now he's just kind of whatever anybody needs, he'll do. Like he'll be up at 5 a.m. on Monday co-hosting Steven's show. And then he might be out at Royals Monday night till 10 o'clock. So That is crazy. I am right next to him, like our rooms, and it's the best. Like you never know what's going to come out of his mouth, which is hilarious. You probably hear him on the air. I mean, he doesn't necessarily hold back in that aspect as well, but I mean, he's just hilarious. Couldn't ask for like a better boss or supervisor, whatever we want to call him, but he's more like a friend, to be honest.
Well, I think what's cool with Steven also is he's always talking on the radio about him emceeing for like a George Brett right? Like George Brett has a party and he's asked Steven St. John to go be the MC of it, or like Jamie Bluma, or, you know, some of those other guys. And there's not one guy that I've listened to in Kansas City that would literally probably fight somebody over talking bad about Kansas City than Steven. So again, that's what stood out the most to me. So that's, again, I kind of figured that was going to be your answer, just because he does seem like a lovable guy and just someone who he just wants to josh around with everybody, right? Like he's just, you know, that kind of person and whatnot. So thank you for answering that one.
Yeah. Legends. Just out of curiosity, have you had any interactions or collaborations with our previous guest, Jesse Newell from the Kansas City Star?
Yeah, no, Jesse, obviously kind of Emporia native as well. You know, was doing work there, and yeah, he comes into the station all the time. So him and you probably hear Sam McDowell and Pete Sweeney, Matt Derrick, like all these contributors that we have on the show. I'm just blown away by their knowledge and ability to at any point, you know, shift from Royals to Chiefs to stadium talk. That's a big one right now. And it like amazes me when, excuse me, all of these guys can talk about star bonds and like financial things, because in my mind, I'm like, look, I know I have a certain amount of money in my bank account and I know how a loan works, but like, these don't have X amount of money. Where are they getting this money? How are the world, like, how that all is like a huge question mark to me, like that world of getting money to build something that you want. But they can talk about that for hours, and excuse me, Jesse is certainly one of those that like knows so much about everything.
Yeah, he was a wealth of information when we had him on.
He did. And for everybody who's watching and listening, I know Jesse's obviously from Emporia. Bethany's obviously from Emporia. We're from Emporia. Well, why did you guys not do anything with your lives while Bethany and Jesse are out here doing the world's work? Back off. All right. We're doing right. But again,
we walked so they could run. Okay.
Hey, you guys decorated your mom's basement very nicely.
You guys like that?
That was a great one.
Cody can't wait to have that clip. Cody's like, I need to mark.
I already know.
Yeah. Cody, go.
All right. Good. Well, great time to shout out to Emporia Federal State Credit Union for being sponsors, since we're doing an Emporia shout out. So, so working for like sports radio, Bethany, like what's the greatest part about working there that people like us who aren't in the know of it wouldn't realize is the greatest part about it?
Oh my gosh, like I said, every day I feel really lucky to be doing this job, but there's so many different things. I guess what people wouldn't realize, you know, there are challenges. Like I think everybody thinks that the media can just go in and I think kind of earlier Ty talked about the access is more limited than you might think. You know, we might get a little bit frustrated or just annoyed that like a team like the Chiefs, for example, which with all the winning they're doing, they can pretty much do whatever they want. And so like, you know, there was that new NFL policy from the Players Association that no more cameras in the locker room, which to be fair, I always thought that was weird. Like us going into the locker room with cameras. Like on my first day, I was like, are they going to like shower and then like tell us when to come in? Like, no, there's none of that. It's just,
oh wow,
you just go in and like it's their locker room. And so like we wouldn't expect them to, I guess, have waiting periods, or it's like, hey, you have from this time to this time to shower and be ready. Like there's just none of that. And so I mean, it's a free for all. Like if you're in the locker room, you are in the locker room. Like I'm no different than one of the teammates of theirs, you know? So it's a little awkward, I think, sometimes, especially as a female. And I know there was like a joke going around Twitter where some player from another team said, honestly, it's not even the females. Like it's some of you guys that we feel the most weird about.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So I wasn't too upset to see that they did away with the whole cameras in the locker room. But it did make it difficult because now you've got to go in, you request a player, you bring them out, you can ask them, and they don't even have to say yes. Like a lot of times if they're right there at their locker, they're like, sure. But now it's like, okay, you lose a game, is, Isaiah Pacheco or Chris Jones really going to want to get their clothes on, walk down the hallway, do this interview? And from what I hear, a lot of other teams around the league have some really good procedures in place for their media. Like, it might be right outside the door. They have a little room. The Chiefs have us walk a whole hallway and go down now and all these things. And so it's adapting. And like I said, I don't necessarily hate that the cameras are out of the locker room. But you're kind of at the mercy of the Chiefs. And especially when they're winning, they can just tell you, hey, you're not getting this access, or, we're not doing this today. And it can make your job difficult because you're there to get the content, and writers too, they're there to get their quotes and all those kind of things. And so it's not always like, here, just go get what you want.
Gotcha. That's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. This definitely gives you a little bit more broad perspective on like how it actually works out there.
Yeah.
Sure. One more question before we go on to the lightning round. What is your favorite interview moment while working at A10?
Favorite interview moment. I got to interview Patrick Mahomes, like pretty much one-on-one at the ironically 101 Awards, which they did away with now. And it's just like online, I think. But last year they had it in person in Kansas City, and he had won offensive MVP, and then Rasheed, I believe, was newcomer, NFL newcomer or rookie, and then TJ Watt was there. So that was a really cool night. I remember that was like the first time I asked Pat a question, because when you're in that press conference room after games or just for the weekly press conferences, I wouldn't say I'm scared. I'm definitely not scared. I think it's more of a, hey, there's guys that have been in this room like Jesse Newell or like, some of those other people I mentioned for years and years. And it's like, I'm going to let them ask the questions. If I truly had something that was burning in me to ask or to know, I would do it. But, most of the time, if you just kind of let those guys handle it, you're going to get what you're curious about asked and answered. So, yeah, definitely not scared there. But I think first time I got to like ask Patrick Mahomes my own question, I was like, wow, that was really cool. So
that's awesome.
With us having Coach Vermeil on, I think we all had that moment where we're like, oh God, who's going to mess this up first?
Yeah.
Like who's going to read the question and just completely miss like a whole section of it and get it. But then once you get in the flow of it, you start seeing everything. So yeah, I mean, that's extremely cool that you obviously got to interview Mahomes and whatnot. So Maddie,
speak for yourself, Corey. When we were talking to Dick Vermeil, I was still nervous throughout the whole thing. There was no offsetting the nerves. They were still running high. So speak for yourself, dude.
Yeah, that's big fair. Facts, man. Big facts. Because like when it was my turn to ask the question, I was like, "Oh God, don't do it!" And then like in my head, for some reason, like I like turtles popped up, and I was like, "Please don't say that out loud."
Self too. Like I mean, that's a guy you're like, he's so cool. Like he's literally so cool. But you're like, I've watched you on TV my entire life, and so that first time was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bethany, we're gonna get into the fun stuff now. This is the lightning round. We're gonna ask you some pretty good questions here, get to know you a little bit better outside of football, and we'll go from there. And I think Cody, you're leading us off.
So, Bethany, outside of sports, what's something that you're passionate about? And it sounds like that you are a dog lover, for one, that you mentioned that you rescued your current one. So what's passion outside of sports that people don't know about that you're comfortable sharing?
Yeah, no, I was going to pick the animal thing. If I could have like 5 dogs in here, I would. We're in an apartment, so we're going to stick with one. He has a great life, though. He's got a whole patio, and it's lots of walks, and I can't wait to I want to be on this call forever, but as soon as we're done, I can't wait to get back with him. And he's only a week in, like I said. We did rescue him. He was a rehome situation. And that was always really important to me because he is an Aussie Doodle. He's a great breed, but I was like, I will never go to a breeder. I'm sorry. I understand why people want to get, a nice purebred dog that they know exactly what it is and things. But like, there are so many great dogs in the shelter. Back at home, my parents have 2 shelter dogs. That's all I've ever ever grown up with and had as shelter dogs. And they are the most grateful. Like, you think that a dog can't show gratitude, but like they really, really can. Like those shelter dogs for some reason, and the rescue dogs are just like, you gave me a home. Like that. I mean, they will love you so much. So that's probably one of my more passionate things.
That's really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
You know, so if you could co-host with an athlete, past or present, for a day, who would it be?
I'm gonna go with Derek Jeter.
Ooh.
Wow, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Why
I like
Derek?
One of my favorite baseball players of all time.
Derek Jeter. I know that a lot of people think that he gets like more hype than his talent level deserves, I guess. Like when you really start breaking down like the numbers and things, like people are like, well, actually there's a lot more position players that were a lot better than him and things like that. But like, I don't think anybody did more for their team than a guy like him. And, you know, I can't say I like agree with his, what would be the word? You know, he's a womanizer and
His lifestyle.
yeah,
His lifestyle. There you go.
but it would be fun to co-host with him because you could throw in little jokes like, you know, like, oh, like your ex-girlfriend or, you know, whatever, because he's dated literally everybody. So
Yeah.
I think him and A-Rod kind of like had a competition at one point, right? Like to see which models they can get with. Yeah.
Oh Lord, that does not sound great. As of
All right.
today.
Yeah. No.
you
So
gotta
we obviously live out here in St. Louis now. So we're 5.5, almost 6 hours away from Emporia. You are obviously like an hour, a little over an hour from Emporia. Is there a food spot you miss in Emporia?
yeah, I'm gonna go with Jay's Hamburgers.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, those are some good burgers. The problem is, and I know inflation is making everything go up, but the last time I went to Jay's, I'm like, I just want like a bacon cheeseburger, you know, whatever. And like that burger and fries got up to like $17. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
what is going on here? You know, but just
Like, come on, Mr. J.
Yeah,
Dang.
next you're gonna tell me the free ice cream cone you get still free, or is that gone up?
I think that's still free, but man, hefty price to pay, but it's a good burger. So
Jeez, I don't even think In-N-Out's
that's a
that
local
expensive.
just to Emporia.
it is
Yeah,
just
it's just a little.
the
just a
shop
little-
is if you guys can see like my room, it's about the size of that wood panel to that wood panel.
Oh
Yeah.
shoot.
Oh gosh.
So it's a shack basically.
Yeah, dude.
Little hole in the wall.
For
They're
sure.
they're never not busy.
I know, they're always like slammed.
Yeah.
So even though it's gone up, it's worth the $17 though.
Yeah, and maybe it was 14. I don't remember. I don't
Okay.
know.
Either way, it's
You can exaggerate. There's no fact checkers here.
Put Jay's down or, you know, deter people from eating there. If you go to Emporia, Kansas, you got to eat there. But yeah, no, I was surprised at the inflation. So
Yeah.
And she hit on that bacon cheeseburger at like absolutely. That's the one. So I also just wanted to give a shout out to coaches. Obviously, that was another spot, but it had burnt down. It burned down. Yeah, she worked.
You worked there?
Yeah,
What is that place? What is Coach's?
it's
Coaches
delicious.
is-
Or it
It was.
Art and grill.
It was. Okay.
Yeah, it burned down.
Oh, well, that's sad. Okay.
That's why I
What
wanted
is
to give
Coach's
a
up?
shout out.
So yeah, good job for a lot of years and good food too.
And coach was awesome. So like it just made it that much more, because he would just be out there. Sometimes he'd be a bartender, sometimes he'd just walk around and just like sit at tables with I almost said audience, with the customers, and like it was just a good time.
It was a good place.
All right. And then the big question, who is your favorite KC athlete? Past, present, future, anything?
Okay, I'm gonna go with Trent Green.
Hey, there we go.
There you go.
I'll
Let's
take it.
go.
If you guys haven't noticed, like I love people that I have great interactions with, and they're just really nice people. Trent is that for sure. And again, like I said earlier, does Bobby Wood Jr. really have a choice? Like when you're Mahomes, when you're Bobby Wood Jr., when you're Trent, like you better be really nice because. But there's athletes that aren't. Like I'll be completely honest.
Oh.
And Aaron Rodgers was not. We all know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I saw for myself in Tahoe that he's just not my favorite. Like he was walking past, and I'm like, "Hey, how are you, Aaron?" And he was like, "Excuse me," on. I kept going. So it is. I don't want to say like not normal to have like a good quarterback or a good, mainstream athlete and have them be nice, but like Trent doesn't have to do that, and he's still awesome. His daughter actually is playing volleyball at Cincinnati, and she's awesome as well. And his wife, Julie, and he's got some sons too. And I think one's maybe playing overseas right now, football. So he came in studio with his daughter. We did like a whole interview thing. And I mean, he was just awesome. Like he didn't have to do that on a Wednesday night at 7 p.m., but he did. So he's great.
And I think I saw one of his sons was dating one of the Hunt daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
Keep it in the family. That's a good idea.
People love Kansas City, man. Like Trent can't get away. Like,
yeah,
you hear athletes all the time say, and it's weird, right? Because I grew up close to there, and like it's nice to go to for a little bit, but like we get older and we hear all these athletes talk about it, and you hear from their wives too, and the coaches and their wives of how they just love Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And like now that I'm older, I love hearing that though. Like with Michael Waka, when he was talking about he just loved Kansas City, but his wife was like fell in love immediately with Kansas City, and it's like this is just wild to hear. So and you see it, right? Like Trent Green and all that, like they just love Kansas City. So what I'm getting at is this is why I'm saying Kansas City has the best fan base. Raiders people wanted to argue with that. There's not even a chance. Kansas City lines up at like 3 a.m. to get into games. You can't compete with Kansas City in the community and the fans.
Okay, we were talking about the Chiefs and the Raiders. We weren't talking about the city of Kansas compared to Las Vegas, the city, because you're right. There is no comparison. They were talking about the team fan base. Austin, don't move the goalpost, bud. Don't move it.
No,
he tried. You're not
Do
slick,
what we
man. Don't
want
do
in
it.
Kansas City, okay?
What?
We have the best barbecue. We have the best football team.
No one is arguing that you don't have the best barbecue. We were talking
No,
about
you're allowed to move the
fan base.
goalpost because
I will back
No.
Austin up. They do have the best barbecue.
Okay, no one. Again, where is the barbecue coming from? Are you
From
supplying the barbecue?
Let's reel it in. Let's reel it in, guys. Everyone, that is all the time we have for the show. Bethany, thank you so much for joining us. We had a great time. We hope you enjoyed your time as well. Go ahead and tell our listeners, our viewers, your socials, like where we can find you at on your social media.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is Sports Radio 810, and you can see not only my interviews and posts and things, but a lot of our hosts and great interviews they do. We're always posting links to podcasts that they do. And I think I'm maybe a little like immune to sometimes the great guests that we get, like Mike Boddicker and, George Brett comes on sparingly, not quite as much anymore, but Tim Grunhard and Bill Moss, former Chiefs, and just guys like that who I kind of tune out the radio sometimes during the day because I'm in the office and just hearing that noise for 12 hours could be long. But I mean, you'll be listening some days and you're just like, wow, like that's a great story. I would have never known that if I didn't, tune in. So be sure to listen to the station and our socials. And then my personal X handle, I'd say, is my most used platform, BJ Bowman 13.
Nice. Well, you heard it here, guys. Make sure you're following Sports Radio 810. Check out Bethany's interviews. We had a great time with her. And thanks for joining the show. Make sure you guys are taking advantage of our affiliate promo codes, like 20% off your Spy Optics order using promo code Orange20. Guys, that is all the time we have, and we'll see you on the next time where rivals collide.